Hello everybody, welcome back as ever to Building Blocks. We program Minecraft mods live on camera, and it occurred to me that I should probably make like an emote at some point for like knuckles cracking noise. Just as something. Also, there appears to be somebody blasting music outside the building, so that's lovely. But anyways, we have an interesting challenge today. I'm not 100% certain if we'll actually pull it off, because it is literally something I have never ever even remotely tried to do in my entire modding history. So I'm not 100% clear if we'll succeed at that tonight, but we're gonna give it a dang good try at the very least. But first, let me show off what I've been doing over the past week. So, first and foremost, here we have Holy Water, then we have Antitoxin, Alchemist Fire, the Tanglefoot Bag, which probably needs a better icon than that, and the Thunderstone. Now, you might remember these from 1.12 versions of various oddities. They're not brand new things, but what is new is that all of these, with the exception, I believe, of Antitoxin, are the exact same item. Let me just move those over there so you can see a bit better. So if I just hover over these, let's also grab a Thunderstone, why not? There you are. So, Antitoxin is the only example we have currently of a drinkable vial. We then have the Tanglefoot Bag, which is a throwable vial. We also have the Alchemist's Fire, which is also a throwable vial. And we also have the Thunderstone, which is also a throwable vial. All of these are the exact same item, again with the exception of Antitoxin, which is technically a slightly different item, but nonetheless used in the same system. And you might suggest maybe the only difference is the model, although getting the model to be a different thing was a pain in the butt, did that today. But previously, we had separate items for all of these, which meant that we pretty much had to hard code how they were going to be like crafted and such. Now, on the other hand, we actually can go to, let's see, item vial, please and thank you. There. We can go to item vial, and item vial stuff basically is just an item with some MBT data indicating a kind of vial. A kind of alchemical vial, to be exact. Now, all of these are stored in a registry, not very much dissimilar to status effects. So, for instance, every kind of potion that you can find is all an instance of Minecraft potion. You can tell based on that line right there. That indicates what item this is. And all of that is distinguished by color and texture and such purely from the MBT data. So with that, we are able to do something very similar and create all of these different vials, and then just we just have a value inside of them that indicates what kind they should be, if they're a drinkable or a throwable, and it auto-generates the item, which is lovely. It means we only need one kind of like solution. We had an item called a solution back in 1.12 for each individual kind of alchemical vial. Now we no longer need to care about that. It's wonderful. So the Thunderstone, for instance, you chuck it and it does a little bit of sonic damage. The Alchemist's Fire, you chuck it, it sets things on fire. The Antitoxin cures poison and wither. I'm probably going to be configuring this by the by, so that by default it gets rid of poison and wither, but you can actually hook in other stuff. But not right now. That's not the major concern right now. Right now, we have no way of actually crafting these. Now, I mentioned the solutions before. You would craft together a solution, you would shake it a few times, and then you would cook it, essentially. That was the way that we did it. And we'll probably be doing something very similar here. But there were also these two devices here. We have the centrifuge, which is mostly decorative in 1.12, I admit, and we have the mixer, which was definitely nuts. And that basically let you do the shaking of their solutions completely automatically for at a time. It just took a little bit more time, I believe. They have now been re-implemented. Here they are. They don't currently have anything. They don't have any kind of like concerns about what you give them, so I can literally just feed them whatever I like. And formerly, these actually had a UI, but no longer. Now they are dealt with via your right click only, so that we can happily feed these in one at a time. There we go. It's not dependent upon which face you're looking at. I thought about doing that, but then I realized it would significantly hinder automation because you need to be able to reach all four sides to input into them, so yeah. But they have the exact same functions as before. We just need to give them some water. Yep, 0. And I'm guessing you, yep, 0. They need a proper heat source below. I have currently allowed all kinds of fire, all kinds of campfire, as well as magma blocks and lava. Those all count as a proper heat source. And just to give ourselves a little bit more control as well, we have to give it a redstone signal before we'll actually start doing anything. But pretty much all of these work just fine, except that currently they don't do anything. The only product that happens from this is that the cauldrons below them run out of water. Because every time that noise ticks off, it reduces it a level, because that's meant to be a crafting process, essentially. But yeah, we can in fact run these things quite happily, and indeed, they're now comparator compatible as well. So they output a signal of 2 for every item in their inventory that they think, at least, that they can process. Right now it's basically any of them. And they output a signal of 15 if they are currently working. So in this case, this is detecting whether it's ready to go off, so it's giving it a redstone signal when it knows it's full. Give that, it starts running. This is now turned off. This is just fully automated mixer in action right here. Ah, it's lovely. And yes, I did spend like an hour or two yesterday automating my own modded block. But, you know, it's nice for demonstration purposes. Oh yes, there is a hopper above here as well, so I can just show off that these can be fed by hoppers. Yep, there we go. As well as subtracted from them. You can only extract from the bottom of them, but you can insert from all of them. So what we need to do today is we need to figure out how to tell Minecraft what these things should be like taking in and putting out, that kind of thing. Because, for instance, a furnace, good example, there is a registry of recipes that take an input item here and tell you what it becomes every time a furnace cycles. So when this arrow fills all the way to white, and then it figures out, okay, decrease that, so that can input something there. There's a recipe, like, for all of the different ores that turn into the ingots. Straightforward, single input, single output. We need something like that for our mixer, and ideally also our centrifuge. Probably a different registry for our centrifuge. And that means we need an entire brand new type of a recipe, which will still mostly resemble that of the furnace, but will only work inside of a mixer. Now, a standing, like, idiom I think I have when it comes to coding new stuff that I've never ever touched is see how Britannia did it. Because Vazkey has done so many things in Britannia that it is basically the holy grail of example code. Basically. So I'm going to be referencing this a lot today as we endeavor to implement this. As we endeavor to implement our mixers actually doing stuff. So, yeah, the mixer and the centrifuge also don't have crafting recipes just yet because there's not really much point in crafting it if it doesn't do anything. I guess it looks nice. There's that. There was a poll on Twitter as to whether or not they should have their old UIs, but they literally only have like 4 inventory slots, so it wasn't really a huge plus or minus. There were only about like 12 votes, I think, on the Twitter poll for it, but nonetheless, it came out significantly in favor of like actually having to use your right click, which I think is good. It feels more like I'm actually interacting with the thing than like I'm opening up a web page or something. It's like, I guess that's a way to describe it. Like, if you can control a block entirely by like player interaction directly, then great. That feels a bit more immersive than the alternative of opening up a UI. But if you need to use a UI, then it's probably good to use a UI, because there is only so many things you can do with a single right click. But anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling and see if I can start to get some kind of idea of what the hell I'm doing here. Now let's see, the orchid is effectively it's basically a furnace. Or actually, is it a furnace? No, I'm thinking of a different one. The orchid is the one that creates ores around it. There is another one, I'm sure. Pure daisy? Yeah, not quite. Runes? Close. I'm ideally looking for something here that takes one thing in and puts another thing out. Mana infusion, I guess, maybe. Yeah, inputs, mana steel, outputs, other stuffs, which are very white. There we go. Okay, so yeah, this is probably a thing that we're looking for here, I think. The flowers are powerful? Yeah. I don't steal code from people, but also there is literally no point whatsoever to reinventing the wheel every single thing you do. So if somebody else has done it and you know how, and you can look at how they've done it, reference the hell out of it. Like nobody gets good at something by like attempting to do it entirely blind. Anyways, recipes. And we are looking for, let's call it mixer recipe provider. Extending out of recipe provider. So this will basically be our registry of recipes. Our Registry. Regipy? No, I don't think I'm doing that well. Okay. Where's the one I'm looking for? Why do I see two different kinds of furries on these? Who knows? There we go. What name? Regipede, the newest of the Reggie Pokemon. I understood that reference. Okay, straightforward so far. So, I finished recipe appears to be basically just, here is the thing. Like that is the main thing that we're registering here. All of these, strictly speaking, cover I finished recipe. So we go to there, implements I crafting recipe, I recipe crafting inventory. Okay, I was wrong, that's interesting. Special little thing. We've made custom recipes before. We've never made a custom recipe provider, which is a whole other kettle of fish. Because custom recipes just go into the crafting registry, like things that you can do in your inventory or on a crafting table. We've never done this before. So, but let's start with a simple one. Let's say if you shake a fire charge, if you mix a fire charge, it turns into a alchemist's fire. It's not how that recipe will go, but for right now. Whole new crafting method, not just recipe. Exactly. Let's see, fire charge as our inputs, and oh wait, no, I'm getting this backwards. Right, okay, there's a little hiccup here, which is Alchemist's Fire isn't gonna work like that. Because since everything is, all of the different kinds of vial are now a registry, we actually need to put these things together and then give it the item stack. Does item vial have a function that returns an item stack? Yes, it does. Good, good, good. From items.firecharge. There we go. Okay. Now we get item vial in here. Add vial to that item stack, which in our case would be vial.alchemistfire. Okay, it has no idea what a finished recipe is currently, but it's the next thing. Hopefully it's not a very small thing, or not a very big thing, but who knows. Okay, yeah, it's mostly just code from... It's mostly just implementing I finished recipe. Okay. There you are. No? Come on. Why is this being finicky? There we are. Okay. Doesn't understand what I'm giving it, but that's fine. Just looking through this, trying to figure out which parts of this are specific to Britannia. Because it has a number of different things. Like, for instance, I probably don't need a thing called a catalyst. I probably don't need a thing called mana, but I probably do need something called input and output. Ideally, I want to get this working, because as I say, in 1.12 I just hard-coded it. In 1.16 plus, I want to make this an actual thing that you can use that you can manipulate with data packs. Firstly, because it means that you can actually, like, read the code to find things out what they want. But it also means that other mods can make use of the mixer. It means that mod packs can make use of the mixer. So maybe you'll actually have, like, more usages to it. It also means we can make use of the centrifuge for certain things. Although I'm probably going to have to give the centrifuge capacity, like, greater output capacity than input, because of the nature of a centrifuge. Fun fact, the mixer's animation of it spinning like that was originally identical to the centrifuge. Too many people pointed out to me that centrifuge's function is to separate things, not to mix them. So, whoops. Okay, that's good starts. Okay, so now this doesn't do much, but it actually still has that going, so that's good. Step one is to actually write this up so that it does actually produce inside of our generated resources here, under VariQP and recipes. It should actually generate some stuff here. Okay, so item MBT helper is Britannia code. Interesting. Well, there must be a solution to serializing this. Because I imagine that there is inside the brewing. So let's see, brewing recipe. There you are. Your serializer must have some notion of this. Apparently not. Interesting. Yeah. My chance seeing this be populated. Interesting. Very interesting. Where is that referenced? Okay, where is that referenced? No clue. Only one match to that, which is also that as well. Interesting. Very curious. I wonder what that's stored. Just plonk that there for the moment while I fix the rest of this. Let's see. If not group dot is empty. And that should be all that we need for the mixer. Advancements we don't need to care about. Serializer we do need to care about, but not at this exact moment. Because before we can serialize anything, we need to actually know how to serialize all of it. So let's see, item stack. Is there anything here about serializing? Is there a JSON helper? Nope. Worth a shot. And the only JSON in here appears to be specifically relating to the display name, because those are all JSON. Okay. Interesting. Where else have we serialized stuff? Pretty sure we've done some. If we just go to recipe, or special recipe or something, then we should ideally see... Actually, special recipe serializer, did I just see that? Yes, there you are. Read, write. Damn. You'd think this would actually have some stuff, but apparently not. Okay. Somebody's gotta use this, surely. Somewhere around here, there has to be something that already serializes an item stack, or else we wouldn't actually be able to generate any recipes at all. Or is that something I'm just gonna have to crib from Britannia? Who knows? It does, looking at Britannia's function, appear to be completely made from whole cloth. So... shaped recipe to serialize. Okay, let's have a look at that. Here you are, okay. So there's deserialized item, but there isn't a serialized item. Oh, shaped recipe, deserialize, okay. Literally, there is nothing else here that I can see. This doesn't extend from anything, so there's not like a greater function. This is bizarre. Why can we only find a read but no write? Utterly strange. Write item stack to a packet buffer. Nope, that's not gonna help us. Lance. Do not. JSON utils, do you have a serialized item stack in here? Not that I can see. No reference to an item stack. Fascinating. Yeah, I'm Lance, if you just dropped in, I am currently trying to figure out how vanilla takes an item stack and turns it into a JSON component so that we can continue working on basically a custom recipe system. Very similar to a furnace, but used for a specific modded block. The mixer. But it does look like I'm just gonna have to copy this for whole cloth from Britannia at this point, so, Item stack has a codec that deals with serialization and deserialization of items. Item stack didn't mention Jason. There is this codec, though. Count tag. Output's a codec, though, not a JSON. As near as I can tell. Alright. Well, I say don't clone people's code, but sometimes you don't got much else. Huh, interesting. I understood, I recognized half of those words. Lest anyone else forget, I am in fact a solid like 80% self-taught programmer. Okay, so there's our serialize. But also don't post links without permission. Because Moobot will sit on you. Yeah, Moobot is kind of like a zombie. In that you'll see them grazing in the field, like emitting some kind of diesel fume probably, out of their back end, and then you'll turn away for a hot second, turn it back, and they'll be right up next to you. Okay. Now that we've got that part, though, next thing we need is the serializer. The link you sent explains codecs. Oh. Or attempted to send, I suppose I should say. Not that I can see that, because Moobot deletes the messages. Okay, recipe provider. Would this be the appropriate place for us to put this? Or do we actually want to have a custom thing elsewhere? Probably just good to have it anyways. Sent on Discord? Okay. I see. Right. I'll give that a look. What do I want to call this? I mix a recipe, I guess, make the most sense. More and more stuff are moving to codecs for serialization and deserialization, since we only need one codec for both JSON and MBT. Yeah, that'd be glorious, I will say. Okay, half these things don't exist yet, but we're working on it. Interesting, there's a reference to a registry value here. Like right here. Except that I don't actually see anything that could be referring to, so for maybe that. I guess. I presume it's the Minecraft one that it cares about. Okay, now we actually need these things. So in our case, let's see. Recipe mana infusion implements I mana infusion recipe, where I mana infusion recipe extends I recipe I inventory. Oh boy. Just a bunch of stuff here, isn't there? Let's see. Reference, mod info, mod ID, mixer. Type, return registry, recipe type, dot get, optional, type ID, dot get. Let's see, the serializer. Oh, this wants to be an interface. I did not make it an interface. Let's see. Matches, we need. Recipe output, need. Default get recipe outputs. Wait, hang on, you have a separate thing. Yep, there are two different recipe output things here. That's a little odd. Presume for the moment that that's meaningful. Get crafting result. It's just been an empty item stack apparently. Well, this is... Huh. Just respinning the worm a bit. serializer is not mentioned specifically in iMana Fusion recipe, so it's presumably implemented somewhere else by Britannia. And that would be my keyboard going wonky again. Yay for that. Well, this is not maximizing the audio and deafening me, there's that. Yeah, every now and then Moobot posts a link to an Amazon wish list. On that list is included a new keyboard, because this one is almost as old as my university degree. So it's kind of showing its age. Sad to say. Okay, all of this looks to be... Let's see... Mana and Catalyst we don't care about. Everything else here appears to be good. Okay. So now we have iMixer recipe. That's one less thing. Did I get that part? Is it supposed to be I recipe type? No, it's it's regular recipe type, apparently. Which I can only presume is something Britannia's created inside of its recipe section. No. Interesting. Ah, yes it has, it's just also created it in this class. That's why. Okay. Oh good, it's gone away. There. Another one less thing. So now we need recipe mixer. Which implements iMixer recipe. Steadily getting there. Why do I feel like I've already done half of this code looking at it? Not all of it, but there is definitely a lot of similarity. Let's see. Just checking to see if I can figure out what serializer it was returning. Okay. There we are. And your complaint is cannot be resolved to type. Right, because we haven't fixed it up just yet. Don't have the recipe there. Okay, mana infusion recipe. Where's that? Where's that going? There you are. Okay, so we've got the serializer in, we've got the ID in. What do we get from matches? Yep. Okay. Input.test. An item stack, actually. Doesn't have one for an inventory, interestingly enough. I presume that's predominantly because the infuser doesn't really care about main inventory. Just cares about an item stack. Yep. Okay, and then the output is presumably just our output. Yep, don't even need to give it a copy. Good. Right, I'll be back in about 10 minutes with probably more tickety-tack. So I'll see you at that then. Catch you later. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a nice little break there. Before we left off there, we were just busily making a whole ton of code that we can't really test until it's all done, which is the worst kind of situation to be in, because you never know if you've made, like, one tiny little error somewhere until you've done all of it, and sometimes doing all of it requires those tiny little errors, so, yeah. It's much better to be, like, doing tiny modular pieces of code that you can test individually, but anyways, we have our recipe mixer class, we have a serializer for it, quite straightforward for the most part, and we're just about to tack it into our data generators. We will then run data, and if we've done this correctly, we will find that our recipes folder in the generated resources has a mixer folder that contains 2 recipes, which I currently put in here. One creates an alchemist fire vial out of a fire charge, and the other creates an ender pill from an egg. These are not the final recipes, before anyone asks. But hopefully I've gotten everything, because there's no errors popping up, so let's hopefully that's good. And let's see, we need mixer recipe provider generator. Okay. No errors. The only things we have here is like 50 warnings for duplicate resources, which is not a problem, really. So if we've got this right, our mixer recipes should show up. They won't do anything, because literally nothing references them right now, but hopefully they'll actually be in here. So we hit run data and wait for it to go. Fingers crossed. Please, please, please. Oh, there is a problem. Yeah, didn't create anything. Why not? Ferrous equipment mixer recipes, it did get there. Invocation target exception null pointer at get recipe JSON, apparently. Okay, so somewhere in the finished recipe section of this, we missed something. So let me just bring up that particular class. No, okay. So somewhere in here, we missed something for, like, get recipe or such. I don't really see anything in here. Nope. Good idea, get serializer. Yeah, that's all good. But literally the very first one it tried to register it had trouble with. Get recipe JSON? Was that it? I presume so. Let's see. Gets that, goes to the recipe provider, goes to get recipe, finds a null pointer. Presumably, because the recipe serializer doesn't know about it. So there is a thing here somewhere where we have forgotten to register a serializer, which I'm presuming is down here. Oh, yes, we actually have. Right here, the recipe types. We forgot to register in here. Whoopsie. Because that's what the serializers are being registered here. Yep, that is very much my fault. Okay. Where is this code? Let's move this somewhere else. This will momentarily break a lot of things. because now none of those things are registered appropriately. Okay. Now it should, hopefully, fingers crossed, work. Hopefully. That at least was a fairly easy thing to tease out, but... That looks good. Okay. Let's see. Mixer recipes. Finished after 20 milliseconds. Okay, good. So if we reboot this... Bingo. Okay, yes, we do have 2 recipes in here. Input item egg, output item pearl, group alchemy, type mixer. Yes, okay. Grand and good, grand and good. Now again, nothing references this yet, so having these recipes means nothing. So, gonna go to tile entity mixer. I think we can close out of these bits and bobs now as well. Because we got that part, that's fine, good, yep, all fine, nope. Don't need to worry about it. Also, yes, both the centrifuge and the mixer are extensions of a class known as Spinny. There's block Spinny and there's tile entity Spinny. And that is the code right here that makes it play the sound and reduce the cauldron's level. There is no code in here right now for actually doing anything. So, tile entity mixer, we need 2 functions, namely can process and process. So let's see, where are my functions for that? There we go, can process. So public boolean can process item stack. Turn false there for a hot second because we want to hook that into our mixer recipes to check if there is a valid recipe for that with the mixer. And then public void process item stack int slot. So that'll just take the slot that the item's in, what it is, and actually do it. Let's actually pull that process item just so it's a little bit clearer. In theory I could just give it the slot, but... There. Okay, just to be a little clearer, so it doesn't bother with the empty slots if there are any. Okay. Right, so now we need to check the tile entity mana infusion, I guess. Or something to that effect. They say that one of the skills that older generations don't realize that they don't have, and that younger generations don't realize they just sort of implicitly have, is the capacity to know what to type into a search engine to get the results you're looking for. Okay, so here's the recipe manager. Add recipe, get recipe type. this does not seem to do terribly. Zen register, these are interesting. I've never seen that before. Documentation. Where's this in? What part of this? Integration for craft tweaker. I see. Not relevant to us right now. But okay. Let's see. We're looking for tile, mana infuser, or whatever it is. Or wait, mana infusion is done with the mana pool, I think. If I'm remembering that correctly. Okay, so do you somewhere reference the recipe? Mod recipe types. Okay, good sign. Mana infusion recipes. Just gets all of them. Get matching recipe. There you are. Okay. So let's start with that, just checking whether or not the mixer can process a given item, which will then mean it can only process fire charges and eggs. So let's see. List mixer recipe matching recipes. Rules lists in array list. But you know, in this case we just want the one. Also probably have a private step here just to get our matching recipe. Because that will probably help us a fair bit here. Okay, and let's see. Mixer recipe equals get matching recipes for that stack. Get 0. If it's, there should be no. There is a possibility someone could cause a crash here by modifying the block data so that there's something in there that it can't actually process. So we probably want to have a list of there. So if recipes equals null or recipes dot is empty, then just return. We don't need to do anything there. There is no distinction for the mixer as to what you can pull in, pull out or not based on what the contents are, so if there is something in there that shouldn't be somehow, it can just get yanked out by a hopper. So our little ultimate set up there will clear it quite happily. Okay. Set stack in slot recipe crafting results, I believe. Guess get recipe output with that stack. Or is it inventory slot contents? I can't remember. There it is. Okay. Straightforwards. We just need to actually populate the recipe selection now. So for mixer recipe. Ah, I see why it has that thing that just gets all of them now. Alright. If there's one thing I dislike about Vazki is that he tends to put a lot of things in a lot of places. And they're usually quite central places, but it also means that I have to dig through like 15 different things to see how he's done one thing. Oh well. Everyone has their faults. Yeah, everyone has their idiosyncrasies. I don't know if this is necessarily a fault, but idiosyncrasy, sure. Oh, there's an accessor in here. That could poke some holes in my there. Okay, so that is provided by an accessor, and I have also never touched accessors, so that's part of mixin, annoyingly. Ooh. But okay. I have touched mixin, at least that part's straightforward. Okay, what is your complaint? Method requires a body instead of a semicolon. Oh, because it's yeah. Okay, so that's there. Still doesn't do anything right now, but we're working on that. Now what concerns me is that we don't currently have anything that declares what that function does. But there are places that call that. It's just from that part, but a little disconcerting. Okay. I'll need to add that to the mix-in list, which is in here. Curious, is there actually a way to access crafting recipes in a kind of thing without using mix-in? I presume there is. But on the other hand, I've never had to do this until I tried to actually add one myself, so who knows? Maybe not. Okay, so if recipe.matches that item stack on the inputs in that world, then matching recipes. Machine recipes and that recipe. Okay. That should now mean that this is actually capable of understanding, at the very least, what it can process. Should being the operative word here. Well, let's find out, shall we? Halfway through the stream, we might find out that this works. I'm kind of curious what other blocks I can make out of Thailand spinny. I feel like a large part of the aesthetics of an alchemist's lab, that kind of thing, are derived from things that are in motion, like small discrete objects that are just spinning, for instance, or fluids that are flowing through areas, or bubbling, that sort of thing. Should we also check I haven't broken these? They didn't have a breakage, so that's probably something. Let's check here. So dynamic recipes, all good. Mixer, yep, still there, good. Let's find out, see if our mixer can do anything. Overall, this system should be dramatically more manipulable than the 112.2 system was, because the files aren't hard-coded, they're just a registry and the items are auto-generated from that, so anyone can easily add more files with their own mod. The mixer isn't going to be hard-coded, so anyone can change the recipes or add the recipes, that kind of thing. Should be much, much better, but let's find out. Let's find out if it works at all. Okay, so if this correctly thinks that it can't process any of the items that are currently in it, it should output a 0, whereas this one has an egg, so it should output a signal of 2. Oh, I'm seeing a difference already. That's positive, except that's a mixer. So that's a centrifuge. So that one hasn't been fixed yet, I guess. But okay, that's correct so far. Can't process any of these, so it doesn't even want to bother thinking about it. If I give you an egg versus a clay ball, you should not receive the clay ball. But you can, you can receive the clay ball, but only the egg actually outputs a signal. Good. That's progress. So now, if I give you some water and a pulse, you should turn the egg into an enderpearl. Hey! It works! It works! Oh, Kalukale, it works. Grand. And it stopped working that second because it had no more processing to do. Yay! Okay, so there is a slight problem with the input, but good, good, good. We can probably add a check here for can process that. So check if we can actually process the incoming item stack. And can process item stack in. There. We won't have any such limitation on extraction, just in case we need to extract something that we don't want to process any further, for instance. Like if there's a multi-step crafting process that you only want like a mid-step of, we can actually have it stop there. A little difficult, but we'll do it. Okay. So the next step is to test the alchemist fire and see if it actually creates something, because there is MBT data related to that part. Centrifuge will more or less just be cloning most of the code we've just done, except that the centrifuge is probably going to need more than one output slot, which it should drain from there first. Because with the mixer, it's a matter of you're taking something and then you're shaking it about a whole ton, whereas the centrifuge, you're explicitly separating things, so there should logically be more things coming out than going in. Maybe you centrifuge gravel and get more flint from it. I don't know, but... So I should now, yep, cannot input that because it recognizes it can't process that. But if I give it, let's see, let's give it a couple of eggs and a couple of fire charges. Okay. Yep, it's okay with all that. Let's give it some water. And we did get our alchemist fire out of that. Perfect. That means the MBT data correctly transferred over, because otherwise it wouldn't say alchemist fire. It would say holy water or something. And a couple of ender pearls. Good, good, good. That means we have a custom, material processor working here. Hurrah! So now we just need an item to actually have our alchemist's fire and such turn into. So for that, we're going to need a new item with a data value, and probably we'll use the damage value of that. So as it goes, we'll check the damage of the input item, and then as that goes down progressively, we'll change it into a different damage value, and at the end, we'll turn that into the alchemist fire. Okay. So item solution, I guess we'd call that instead of a vial, or vial solution. Sounds unpleasant. Okay. Right. So these are the craftable things that you then put into the mixer. And then, once they're done mixing, you ideally smelt them, in some cases. Depends on the thing. But we can now actually specify that entirely by the recipes. Yay! So, let's see. If we go to item vial throwable, fill item group. And let's see, the only one that we don't want to have really in here is going to be holy water, but it's probably fine if we just have it in there. So let's see, vial. All vials, yes, I did make one, good. Okay, and go to our items. Oh, I copied this, apparently. Well, it's not registered, it's not referenced by anything anymore, so it should be fine to go away. Let's see, vial, throwable, drinkable, solution. Now. Add that to our gear group. Okay, so that should create a solution for all of our different things. It won't actually read its name out until we go to item vial and find that. Here we are, get display name. Can we extend this from item vial? Probably. But we don't want to accidentally do stuff like that. Okay, so that gets us the color, that gets us the display name. Let's set max stack size to... How many solutions should we be able to combine here? Or should this just be a 1? Probably best to just have that be a 1. Okay. I think that's good for the moment. Okay. There's one little thing here I also want to do, which is instead of it being antitoxin solution, and instead of it saying like antitoxin, it should be antitoxin solution. So let's also set the max damage there to 5, because I like the notion that there can be more than a whole an entire. My brain's gone dead. An entire brain work, for the love of God. More than an entire cauldron's worth of shaking needed. So there we go. So for that, we then need new translation text components, and that would be item rqp dot file solution, in which one of the inputs is actually this. Okay. So it should say all the thing, then solution. It will not have an item model of any kind right now, but it'll at least say the right thing. Later on, we'll actually have the solution react to when you left click with it. For right now, it is just a stand-in item. My next question is, does item stack have a initializer that actually allows us to put in damage? Apparently not. Apparently not. So we'll have to set that. Not a hard thing. I've just been coding away and no one's made me exercise. This is an interesting day. Okay, so Thunderstone, Tanglefoot, Alchemist Fire, Antitoxin, Holy Water. Some of these will probably not be craftable like this, but yeah. Holy Water, for instance, is technically bypassed by virtue of Holy Water itself being made entirely by just combining water bottles with a holy symbol. But yeah, good. Okay. So now we can just tell this to... Why does that have 2 data tags? That's my curiosity. Oh. Hang on a second, let me check this out. Data get entity at type equals item. Limits equals 1. Wait, leads? There are leads? Where is there a lead? Okay, so... Tag... Oh, damage. Okay, that's fine. That is fine. So let's create a recipe now that actually uses that. So let's see, the mixer recipe provider? Yeah. So, consumer.accept new finished recipe ID, call it Tanglefoot 1, I guess. And we'll be using item vial. Actually, we probably want to have a thing here. So for int I equals free, we'll say I is greater than 0, I plus plus. Output set damage I, and item stack inputs equals new item stack, same deal basically, but damage is one less. Okay, item file dot, let's see, inputs, we want file tanglefoot. Output, we want the same thing. Okay, that should create a set of items that will gradually increase the damage value. But okay. Let's run the data to generate those recipes and see what we get. Meanwhile, I will do these 10 curls on the right arm. Gotcha. I feel like I'm somehow crossing genres a little here, in that I'm lifting weights on a programming stream. Should I maybe be beating myself up after this? There are some fairly buff programmers, but then to be fair, compared to me, almost every programmer is buff. Okay. So, generated recipes for the mixer. Our output has created. How are you freezing on a refresh? That's disconcerting. Like, I'm literally just refreshing a folder directory here. That's all that we're looking at here. So I'm curious what on earth has happened that this is frozen. This is new. I don't think I've ever done this. Imagine hitting F5 on a, like, browser window and Chrome or whatever freezes entirely. That's basically what just happened. Yeah, Eclipse just crashed. Wow. I can't say that never happens, but that is certainly unusual. It bodes well? Yeah. Or just like the entirety of Eclipse just corrupted or something. There we are. No errors there. Generated resources, recipes, mixer. Yeah, we can only presume there's something to do with the actual generated files. Let's have a look. What on earth have we caused to happen? Oh. Himmel. I see. I'm surprised this completed, actually. I'm surprised run data completed at all. Oh, we made a stack overflow, basically. Whoa. There's 106,000 and climbing items in this one folder. Oh lord. I'm so sorry, computer. I'm so sorry, Eclipse. Oh dear. Oh. Yeah, that explains it. I must have had the wrong polarity of increments on that particular function. That's what happened. Presumably it's still going. For comparison, we have generated there more files I've ever used in the entirety of my programming career combined. Oops. Yeah, I started it in going from high to low, but I gave it the incrementing up part. That's, yeah. Let's run that again. Hopefully this actually still works. Like, I suspect I've gotten this backwards anyways, but, you know. Yeah, we've hacked. So the whole thing don't work no more. Wow. I've never done that before. I've never had a simple polarity error that leads to that quite so much. And there goes Eclipse again. Okay, yeah, we're probably just gonna want to delete that. It's gonna find a lot of items, eating a lot of memory. But is there even any space left on my drive? That's my next question. Just at a cursory glance, ostensibly yes. Wow, I might just hack the stream over as well. Like, they're tiny, tiny files, like kilobytes at most, but there's at least 100,000 of them. I may have effectively just wormed myself. Wow. Okay, well, that's gonna take a while to figure itself out. Probably by the end of it, it'll say either the files are too large or there's too many of them for the recycle bin, so would you like to just erase them from history? Which the answer, of course, is yes, but they'll take a bit to get there. See, I had an interesting experience this morning. I say this morning, it was like 12 o'clock-ish. Which was one of our neighbors from across the road. She's already the first odd wrinkle of this story. Knocks on our door, waking me up. I think Fuzz had gone to bed like an hour before then, so naturally I was the one that got prodded to go and answer the door. And presented me with a little like note from DHL, which is a delivery service, saying that they had left their parcel, the neighbor's parcel, across the road at our house number. You might have not received any more door knocks that entire day thus far. I had to look around. Sure enough, there didn't seem to be a parcel that Fuzz had like received on behalf of it. And like they were quite adamant that the note said that they'd left it with us, and I was like, I'm certain that it says that. In fact, I was looking at it like, yeah, I can't argue with that. It does say this address, but also this address has nothing, nothing for you. Computer Angie, yeah, a little bit. So then it was a matter of like, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to call them because there's nothing here. You are literally the first person to knock on our door all day. And apparently it had been delivered that day as well, so it's like, there's nothing here. It's just like very strange. And also like, whoever leaves a parcel across the road, it's always like next door, isn't it? Or like at a nearby shop or something. It's never like across the road. Right after I'd gone back to sleep, we actually did have a knock on the door that was post, delivering my meds. Okay, I think it was like 108,000 items it said, so we should be getting close to the end, I hope. Technically, it won't have stopped until it hit the end of the integer value, which is a very big number. But the fact that it actually went through and completed tells me it probably didn't do that. Probably. But dear lord. Imagine doing this with files that had any kind of like mass to them. Ooh. I could have easily just like hacked over my entire machine. Lying voice to bye-bye? I don't... Those are words, Sweden. I don't necessarily understand what they mean. Oh, yeah. Issues by sheer virtue of how much memory it's currently trying to, like, access. Next question. Where did my voice go bye-bye? Like, what part of my story there did that wink out? Stream is doing very weird things right now, and I can't tell if it's Twitch, you, or me. It could be both. It very easily could be both. Like, I can't even view, actually, how many items this is going to need to delete, but it's a lot. The only way I could resolve that problem of high CPU and whatnot usage on Elemental interfering with stream would be to have a secondary computer that is actually just receiving Elemental's like desktop view, essentially. Which is entirely easy to do. It's called having a streaming computer, but I actually had the funding to have a computer, and right now Elemental needs upgrading a lot more than I need a second computer. So, bleh. Oh, we appear to be recycling items now. Which is good because we're over 230,000 items and climbing. Why does that say it's deleting them from source? It should just be deleting them from generated. Okay, yeah, oh, I'm getting confused. Source folder, generated folder. That's fine then. Yeah, let me see. What does Elemental need? I mean, first and foremost, I guess we've seen in the course of this stream that we need a new keyboard. Elemental's graphics cards are very outdated, but good luck getting any of those anytime soon. The drives are currently a bottleneck for performance quite significantly. There's at least one empty RAM card slot that is occupied by a card that no longer works, but I don't know which one it is, so I've been nervous to yank one. The CPU is probably fine still for the moment. CD drive is very fresh. That's a Blu-ray. I think that's basically all of it, really. But yeah. Oh boy, look at that recycling numbers go up. 350,000 items. And still climbing. Actually can't be completed because it is open in another program, which is presumably Eclipse. So let's close that. If we can. Yeah, incredible. In a matter of seconds, we created several 100,000 files. Where's Eclipse? Give the task manager a second to catch up. There you are. So we're gonna hard close that. Shouldn't be a problem. We can just change that back when we get in. Try again. Okay, I'll be back in like 10 minutes, where, if we're lucky, we'll have succeeded. we'll find out. Wow, I can't even blame Minecraft on this one. Welcome back, everybody. So we have a degree of progress, a degree of progress here, which is that now we have a percentile. So let's see, 154,811 files, 65% complete, which would project to about 430,000. It is, however, saying that this will take more than a day to complete. So, you know, it might, this might... Okay, so, to explain what's happened, there's, well, the thing that we're doing is a process that generates files in our folder system here. That's what the recipe files are. Hold on. We were trying to use a loop to create a series, a chain of crafting recipes, very swiftly, very succinctly. All good. We had a for loop, which is always a bounded condition, a while I equals free, continue as long as I is greater than 0, but accidentally, because I'm very accustomed to loops going up rather than down in integers, I put I++ as the incrementer rather than I minus, which means that whilst my loop was bounded and therefore would have an endpoint, it accidentally went to the entire unbounded space rather than the tiny bounded space. Hence, we generated apparently about 430,000, like 430,000 files, which is a number of files which, though not very big individually, is so massive I can't even view that folder in Eclipse or even Elemental's file system. So it's probably going to be... Stream is being very funky. Yeah, I can imagine why. This is probably my fault. Well, this is my fault, but that particular element of stream being funky is probably also my fault. I don't know how long still responding, but yeah, there's a lot going on here. So it's probably the end of the stream. This is not really something that will be cleared up rapidly, as you can probably tell by that. This is honestly one of the funniest ways I've ever been forced to end a stream early, because it is literally a consequence of typing ++ instead of negative. Like, that is all that was involved here. So apologies for that, everybody. I'm not even sure if the... rather than relying on what Expert spits out. But yeah, let me see. My next stream will be on Thursday. We will probably be playing Sea of Thieves, finishing the Shores of Gold story arc in the Telltales. Then on Saturday, we should have some carousel, playing some random games with the patrons, and we'll be back for, hopefully, more anything on Tuesday. We're building blocks, and we'll finish off, I guess, this piece that we're working on. And hopefully we can get back to working on the wagons, because there's still more to do there. I just need to figure out why the controls are weird. Meanwhile, any videos I make are at youtube.com/comic, which I'm fairly certain Moobot just plonked in chat fairly recently. And everything I do is powered by you at patreon.com/lying, as well as your generous support here on the Twitch channel by subscribing or donating. Donations currently go towards funding my continuance of HRT. We are £78 through on that from 120, so yay. Not too much more to go. Hey, let's look at the positives for tonight, shall we? We have successfully created a recipe registry, even if we have now hacked it over. We have successfully tied the mixer block to that registry, so it only accepts things it can actually process and knows what it will. Next, we can take our solution item, tie that to the same thing, and just like increment through as it goes and find out what it will turn into, that kind of thing. But so essentially, that's like when it hit a certain value. Now, that's effectively like you shake it and you perform a craft. Like, that's pretty cool, actually. Like, how many... Can you imagine items in, like, a mod that, like, change into different items because you, like, shook them? Like, oh, like, just as a very silly example, I could make, like, a paper fan item that you shake it and it turns into an open paper fan, and then you shake it again and it turns into a closed one. Like, that's a thing I could do. Like, just by having it alter what it actually is as an item. That's really neat. But, yeah, we're obviously not going to be able to get very much more done today, so hopefully you've enjoyed what we have gotten done. What we have done is important, and very significant, and meaningful, but I'll have to do more of this later. So, that's all I got for tonight, I'm afraid. Hope you've enjoyed. Catch you next time. I'm not even sure if XSplit will end stream. We'll see, I guess.